morning, everybody. This is Hans again. Welcome to what'll be the last drive in my MR2 for 2015. Heading to work this morning. After we get home, we're going to start actually doing the wrenching part of this build, which is what a lot of you guys are looking forward to. The actual racing and any kind of performance events will be next year, but we're going to get building the car starting today. Before I do that, I wanted to give you guys a quick rundown on what I'm going to be building the car for. As I mentioned, the main purpose for the car is going to be Tire Rack's One Lap of America in a couple of years. So that's going to be the main rule set we're building to. The rule set's pretty simple. The car needs to be street legal, safe, cosmetically presentable, can't have any support vehicles, and you can only use one set of tires with tread wear of 240 and above. So I'm really wide open there. The only oddball thing you're going to see that rule set's going to dictate is going to be a trailer. I'm not going to worry about that for a couple of years, but you know, having to haul around tools and clothes, and I do get to bring one spare tire with me and all that for a week in an MR2, it's going to need a trailer, but it's pretty common for the one lap to see that sort of thing. And the secondary rule set, because it's what I'm going to be doing a lot of for 2016 and probably 2017 as well, I'm going to be building to NASA's autocross rule set. Really not a restrictive rule set. I can pretty much do whatever I want with that one as well. It's just a matter of, as I make modifications, it's going to change the classification of the car. We're starting off in the NXF category, which is one of the lowest ones. So that's going to be, like I said, it's something I have to keep into consideration for where my classification is, but it's not going to limit anything. The one thing I didn't like about either of those rule sets is there's really no written safety requirements in there. So the other thing I'm going to be doing is building the car for safety purposes to the NASA time trial and the NASA, what is the CCR they call it, which is their basic safety rule set, which is going to dictate a lot of the things such as roll cage, roll bar requirements, things like that. I'm probably not going to be competing in any events that require it, but I wanted the safety factor just because of the nature of what I'm going to be doing with the car. So after work today, we'll be driving home again and getting the car in the garage and starting to show you guys what the build is. So keep on watching. We got more stuff this video coming right up. What we're going to start working on here right now is we're going to start tearing apart the front end of this car. We're going to be not going to be doing any reassembly or adding any new parts in it just yet, but basically taking apart the whole front end, steering, suspension, brakes, everything like that, looking for what we got going wrong in it. Like I said earlier, the suspension is doing really badly. It's swimming basically like a dolphin at highway speeds. I know the struts are gone. I don't know what the condition of the bushings are, wheel bearings, things like that. So we're going to be tearing everything apart, examining it. If it's a street driving car, I just fix what's broken, but realistically, if I'm going to be using this for any track time, I'm going to be replacing any of the wearable parts, the new tie rod ends, things like that. As a bit of advice for everyone, if you haven't done a project this large, do it in manageable chunks. If you take a car project like this and you're going to just tear the whole thing down to the bare chassis, realistically, you're never going to get the thing back together. You're going to lose momentum at some point. You're going to get distracted. You have to really work within your own limits. So I'm going to be doing I've done projects to that extent before. I'm not going to be handling it in big chunks like that. So we're going to be doing a segment at a time, put everything back together, get the car drivable. Because realistically, it is a car. You want to drive it. Your enjoyment comes from behind the steering wheel, not from staring at a lump of parts in your garage. So let's get tearing everything apart, get this front end up on jack stands, and we'll see what it looks like underneath, and we'll go from there. All right, two suggestions for you if you're going to do any videos about working on cars like this. Number one, wear a belt so you don't feel like you're giving everyone a case of plumber's butt. And number two, be mindful of your clothing before you start the video, especially if you're married, like I am. And your significant other may get upset if you get your clothing dirty. Thankfully, I caught that in time, but just something to keep in mind for later. about 2 hours into the teardown on the front end. I got the driver's side all apart. The biggest surprise, honestly, is going to be the fact of how little problems I found in the front end. I was expecting a lot more slop in the joints and a lot more bearing issues than I found, but they're in surprisingly good shape. If this is going to be a street car where I was just doing a mild refresh of broken things, honestly, I'd leave a lot of it in place. The one thing that is completely trashed that I expected to find is the front strut. That's a little hard to see it here, but at times it'll move about 6 inches with no resistance whatsoever, and then it'll lock up. And honestly, I expected this to be bad, so it wasn't a very big surprise. The other one is the top hat here. Your bearing covering, it just falls right out. The bearings themselves, there is almost no grease in them. It just looks like absolute garbage. This thing is just plain shot. So there's no choice whatsoever about replacing that one. Surprisingly enough, the brakes, I'm actually, for the short term, going to keep the brakes as were, other than some new brake lines. Brake lines were, they're almost 30 years old, so they're showing some signs of dry rot. I'm not going to goof around with them either way. But the caliper, actually, the rotor, the pads are all actually serviceable for the time being. Down the road, I'm going to be doing a big brake upgrade, but I got to go with the finances. And that'll be an easy swap later on. So I'm just going to, when I reassemble everything, I'm going to keep the existing brakes. Front bearing, not really sure about it. It's going to get replaced either way, but it's sort of, you look at it, it's kind of got it's got a weird binding to it. With bearings, anything weird is just bad, so you don't want to take any chances with it. So it's going to get a whole set of wheel bearings either way. Otherwise, it's just going to be continuing on as we are with the passenger side, and see if there's anything different on there. Time for day 2 of disassembly, more of the same, just tearing the front end apart, getting the rest of the passenger side taken apart. One or two little things on the driver's side to take apart still. I got the tools for that now. I did actually manage to get spring off the other strut. I should not be able to do that, so that's where most of my clunk is coming from. And you can see it there. Top hat for the passenger side is just shot. So all the things that I expected to need, no big surprises. All this stuff is going to get taken care of anyway with what I got going for the build plan, so nothing of major concern. Let's get back to it. Alright, so this is going to close this particular episode here. We got a front end all pretty much disassembled as far as I'm going to go right now. Steering, I'm going to take care of it at a later date. I'm still deciding whether or not I'm going to do the quick rack or stick with the factory ratio on it. As you can see, a lot of parts out here. Most of these you're never going to see again. They're going to actually end up in the trash or scrap metal. The rest of them, we're going to start to pick up the next episode with refinishing a lot of these things, get them bead blasted down, primed, painted, ready to reinstall. We're going to start sourcing some parts. We're going to go a little more into detail what I'm going to be doing with the front end as far as the coil overset. Otherwise, thanks for watching. If you guys want to get a hand with the project, feel free to visit the webpage, www.siegecraft.us. Look for the advertising links on there and visit the fine advertisers that we have there. Every click helps me. Same with continue to watch the YouTube videos and check out the advertisers we have on there. Otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.